Hey there, and welcome back to another Christmas crafting video. My name's Miss Emily. I have a whole bunch of really fun crafting videos on this page, so if you haven't already checked it out, there's really something for everybody. And I love doing these because I talk to myself anyways when I'm doing crafting, so I figure why not record it, and maybe somebody can learn something from my incessant rambling. So here we go. Today I'm going to do something Christmassy. I'm going to do a poinsettia on a cupcake. So I have a cupcake that has already been baked and cooled, and it's actually frozen. Maybe has some little frosties on top. And so that is ready to go. You don't want to decorate a cupcake that's freshly out of the oven because it's going to be warm. And if you're using buttercream frosting on it, the buttercream will melt when you start to put it on there because, you know, butter melts. And so you've got a warm cupcake and, you know. So you want to make sure it's cool. You want to make sure it's at least room temperature. But I like to stick these guys in the freezer and then, you know, maybe let them sit there for a week or so before I get to them. And that way I always have cupcakes ready to go. Anyhow, I should be wearing gloves when I do this. Let me talk a little bit about my tools that I have before I get into the process for making a poinsettia on a cupcake. So a couple things you're going to want to have. You're going to need some disposable pastry bags. You don't need a Wilton brand. You don't need Bakery Craft brand. I use Bakery Craft. That's what these are. Just a 12-inch bag from anywhere. You can get them at Walmart. You can probably buy them online, just some kind of generic brand. Buy them in a big pack like this, multi-pack, a roll, or whatever, because you'll get more of them for less money. So that's always the best deal. Something like this. Just wanted to have a package to show you. But yeah, the 12-inch size bags are what I'm using today, and these are really good to have because who wants to sit there and wash a bunch of, greasy icing out of a featherweight washable bag? Yeah, those are nice in a way if you have boiling hot water and you can just soak them and all the grease comes out, but most of us just have regular hot water, and so don't mess with that. Just get the disposable bags and then you can reuse them. You're also going to need some wax paper. Any brand will do. I just have a couple pieces here. I'll tell you why I have a couple pieces in a second, but you just want to kind of keep your workstation covered. You don't want to have grease everywhere. You could just throw the sheet of wax paper away when you're done instead of having to wipe down the counters and everything. It's also nice to have gloves if you're making cupcakes or cakes for other people. That way, you can just let them know, hey, I used gloves, so you don't have to worry about COVID or germs or anything like that. But of course, you'll keep your hands clean. And it's also nice to not have a bunch of grease under your fingernails and everywhere. You want to have some kind of a cake spatula, something to stir with, something to mix your icing, food coloring, to get the color all thoroughly mixed throughout that so that you don't see like a marble look. You don't see that here because these were mixed properly. And so they're ready to go. And I'll talk a little bit about the tips that I've already got prepared on the bags. So you're going to need for the poinsettia, you're going to need a leaf tip. This is one of many leaf tips that are available out there. And this number on this tip, which these are universal numbers. So if you're looking for one, it doesn't matter what brand you're using. This is a 352. And that's what it looks like on the end. It just kind of looks like a snake's tongue, like a little, little shape cut out of that, little triangle shape. All right, so that's one leaf tip that we'll be using today. There are some others that have an extra little notch on there that look a little different. They can be used to make a poinsettia or a leaf. It's just kind of a different look, so it depends on what you want. One puts a little stripe down the center like a vein, and the other one does not. This one doesn't. And then the other tip you're going to want to use is just some kind of a small circular tip. Could be a 3, 4, 5, 6. This is going to be for the center. This is a number 3. It's actually kind of a big 3. I don't know. Sometimes I find that the circular tips, while the numbers are universal, sometimes one brand's size 3 might look a little different than somebody else's. But that part doesn't really matter. So we just need some kind of a little circle. And so we'll set those aside. You also may need couplers at some point in your life. And so I did pull out a couple so you can see what they are. And I'll tell you what they're used for, although we're not going to use any today. Because as you noticed, these two bags just have a leaf tip and they don't have a coupler on there, and there's a reason for that. This one doesn't need one either, but I wanted to explain, so I'll show you how this is how it looks. So a coupler has two parts. This big part goes inside the bag, right? So you just drop it in the bag, cut a little bit of the end off the bag so you can just poke it through, right? I'll screw this off so you can see what I'm talking about. And you would do this before you put icing in your bag, right? I learned that the hard way. So you would drop the coupler piece, this piece right here, into an empty bag. You would cut the end of the bag off, you know, maybe like an inch or so, not too much. Don't get crazy with it, because if the coupler has too much space, it'll pop right out. Okay, so just be careful with that. Then you kind of push it through. Then you can fill your bag. Okay, when it's at this point, you can fill your bag, put your color in it. And what the coupler allows you to do is easily switch tips. Since I know I'm not going to be doing anything else with green or red than just the leaf tip, I didn't even bother putting a coupler on. But if you wanted to, let's say, switch quickly between like a rider tip like this number 3 and then maybe say a leaf tip, you would be able to do that. And the coupler just allows you to use this little screw-on piece right here to just add a new tip on there. So it's just a nice way to switch between different tips while not having to have several bags of the same color. So kind of a little time saver if you're going to be doing a lot with the same color. We don't need spatulas right now because everything's already mixed. We do need to sort of practice some of our shapes. And so a good thing to do before you start, committing to the cupcake and actually doing the design on there, you want to practice a little bit, which kind of brings me to the 2 layers of wax paper thing that I talked about earlier. So I've got the 2 layers because this bottom one is just to keep my surface area clean. This top one is for practicing. So practice as much as you feel like you need to before you put it on the cupcake. So you'll want to get a feel for the leaf design. So when you are working with your icing bags, you want to make sure all the icing is pushed to the bottom. So I don't have it like all up and down the bag. It's all mostly right here, and the part that's going to be in my hand, right? And then up here, you're kind of pinching it and twisting it so that way you're keeping the icing inside. So you're not really focused so much on holding the bag closed as you are on squeezing. That's mostly what you're doing here, but you also need to just make sure you have that twisted, or else you'll have a big explosion out the back and your icing will just pour out the other side. Or you just won't have as much control because you'll be losing the icing, and instead of squeezing it out this way, you'll be squeezing it out this way and that way, and it's just kind of going all over the place. So you just want to make sure you're doing that. Sometimes if this is hard to focus on, you can just twist it, fold it over, so you get like a little loop, and almost like you're just putting like a hair tie in your hair. Pretend like this is a bun. You would just put a rubber band around that a few times, and then you don't have to worry about it. You can just squeeze instead of having to worry about squeezing and twisting, okay? So you're gonna hold it like this. You're gonna turn it so that way we see this pointy side up, kind of facing us. So I'm talking about not doing it like this, okay? We're turning it like this so it's comfortable in our hand. And we're going to have it where the pointy side is facing us, okay? And then to get the leaf shape, you can just practice different leaves, practice doing short leaves, practice doing long leaves, just see what it does. If all you want to do is just start squeezing it and letting some icing fall out, that's okay. You can always use one of your spatulas to scrape it off the paper and put it back into the bag, maybe with some help, But anyway, just kind of get started by squeezing, and I'm sort of starting to pull as I squeeze, and I'm also wiggling because I want it to have like a natural little wiggly leaf shape. So that's one way to do a leaf, but this thing does all kinds of leaves. You can do small ones. You can do tiny, tiny, tiny ones. If you have good icing, you can do all kinds of leaves, and you can even practice by twisting your wrist back and forth different directions and practicing kind of how you might do a leaf from a different direction, or twisting or turning a certain way. But also, because we're doing this design on a cupcake, it'll be really easy to just sort of twist our cupcake around as we're putting leaves down, so we don't have to be like twisting our wrist all around and hurting ourselves. We can just twist the cupcake as we go. But anyway, you'll want to just practice as many leaves as you can. So you're going to get a big squeeze, you're going to start to pull while still squeezing, and then slightly, slowly let up, and then just pull away. So as I was pulling away, I was letting up on my pressure, wasn't squeezing as much, and I was pulling away slowly at the same time. So that way that just happened with a nice little gradual fall. So practice doing different size leaves and just find the ones that you like and what you want to do. Okay, so we can put some leaves on our cupcake. On this one, I think I'm gonna put 3. I'm gonna start in the middle. I'm going to wiggle. I don't want it to fall off too much because I still want to be able to have some spots where I can, put my hands where I'm not going to be touching icing, but I need to see a little bit of green sticking out. So this will look like a very Christmassy cupcake, just like that. Okay, so all I was doing was kind of wiggling back and forth like this, kind of cutting into it as I pulled away. And then as I get to the tip, just make sure you let up on your pressure, you're not squeezing as hard, and you're pulling outward, okay? and that'll give you that nice little peak. If your icing is soft enough, I use Sam's Club buttercream, that's what this is, and so theirs is very smooth and very soft, and you don't even really need to whip it unless you want to, and it tastes really good too. So if your icing is really good, then you'll be able to get that nice little peak at the end with no effort. Now, the petals on the poinsettia look like big leaves, so we're in luck because we just did a leaf. We just learned a leaf, so we're just going to be putting, I'm going to put 6 petals on this guy, so I'm going to have 2 in between these, 2 in between these, and 2 in between these, but watch what I do. I'm not going to go all the way to the center. I'm going to kind of start here, pull in that same way, okay? I'm going to do one right here, pull. I'm going to do one here. And when I twist it around, I'm making sure I don't stick my fingers in a leaf, because you don't want to pull up that nice little leaf that you just created. Okay, and I'm leaving a blank space in the center on purpose, and you'll see why in just a minute. So there's the leaves on our poinsettia. We're going to pick up this yellow bag now. It's got our little circular number 3 at the end. And we're just going to, remember, do that same thing up at the top. You want to twist it slightly and just kind of grab it with your thumb. And we're just going to do our little dots inside there, as many as you can fit to cover up the green. All right, I'm just squeezing and letting go. Squeeze, let go. Squeeze, let go. Squeeze, let go. All right, whatever you do, just do it with consistency. So if you're making long, kind of like blades of grass with this yellow tip, that's fine. Just do it with all of them. And that way, you know, it looks like it was done on purpose. And that's about it. That's our little poinsettia. If you had some little cake sparkles you wanted to throw on there, that would look nice. If you were doing a whole bunch of these, you've already got your bags prepared. You could just easily go along. I would do all the leaves first and then come in between the leaves with the red. And then at the end, just go and do all your centers. You could even use a grass tip for the center if you like, but that's super quick and easy.